You're listening to Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Thank you for tuning in for this Unity Partner Program. Unity Online Radio partners with spiritual leaders from organizations whose mission and messages complement Unity's. We are pleased to bring you this program on Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Welcome to Living on Purpose with psychology doctoral candidate Jessie Harriet from Atlanta, Georgia. Are you ready to make a switch? A switch from barely living to living on purpose. During the next hour, you will discover principles to help you live a fully functioning, conscious, and purposeful life. The all is mind, and so are you. Let's live on purpose. Now, here's your host, Jessie Harriet.
Good morning, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Living on Purpose, where we are guiding you, and myself, I'm also included in this unfoldment of shifting out of an autopilot stage to becoming fully engaged and present with life, to be able to put your hands back on the steering wheel of your life and listen to that guiding impulse, which is coming from deep within. Ernest Holmes calls this impulse yourself or your soul or your authentic self, and he also describes the promptings from that self, your own good sense, which is actually the thought of God through you for your betterment. This is the stuff that we're talking about. This is how you can live a more purposeful and present and peaceful life. I'm Jessie Harriet. This week on Living on Purpose, we welcome back to the show a very special guest. He's a best-selling author and the senior pastor of New Dimension Chicago, an award-winning singer, songwriter. I mean, this guy, when you hear his name, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about none other than Bishop Carlton Pearson. Bishop Pearson, welcome back to the program.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Bishop. Are you on the East Coast this morning?
No, I'm in Chicago. So
you're in Chicago?
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock here.
It's 9 o'clock. Oh my God! Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know it's might be a little early.
Well, I'm up watching. I watch the news at 7 o'clock every morning anyway. So.
Oh, okay. Good. We're starting the day off right. That's the beauty about this program. You know, you get up early, and for those that are able to listen live, thank you so much for tuning in. I know you're probably listening in from your car, from your job. If you're listening in at work, don't get in trouble, you know. Definitely take notes and download the archives. Let's get started, Bishop. I want to jump right in. Bishop, you've been really active lately, and I've been following your updates and speaking. You've been all over the country, and your message, you've already been all over the world, impacting the world just in your former incarnation, but even now in this next level of unfoldment, you're impacting the world. It's like at a greater velocity almost. That's from what it seems like to me. I want to ask you two questions to start off with. First of all, how is Bishop Pearson and the minister doing, and is he doing better or just as good as Carlton as a result of this unfoldment, which we've been experiencing from you in the last couple of years?
Well, you know, for many, many years, it was difficult to separate the minister from the ministry, or Carlton, the person, the being, from the performance-oriented person who's always doing something. You know, we're human beings, not human doings, but we capitalize more on the doings than the beings. And the last few years of my life, I've done less and become more. And when my consciousness began to expand about 10, 12 years ago, really the turn of the new century, the year 2000, I started really reconsidering a lot. And the universe began to orchestrate some things in my own being that made it irresistible for me to start looking outside the box and reassessing how I wanted to spend the second or the last half of my life. So the being Carlton Pearson is expanding and growing and extending itself and becoming more self-aware, actualize, realize, and that's powerful and pivotal and promising and passionate and prophetic. The ministry has been in such a shift over the last several years until it's hard for me to put my finger on it, other than doing things like this and traveling, and of course I've written some books, and my audience has become a lot greater and much more diverse. Mm-hmm. And so it still remains to be seen what I'll be ministry-wise over the next several years. Pastoring is something I've done over 30 years. Not overly eager to do it the same way I did it, but I do love overseeing the ministry and watching it grow and traveling more. And, I come to Atlanta once a month to the Hillside Church Center there with Bishop Barbara King, and love that, of course. Somebody told me you were there, but you didn't hug my neck or nothing. I didn't get to see you.
You were busy, Bishop. I was sitting right beside your family. I was there on last month.
Oh my goodness! Well, I didn't realize that.
I was a little short guy that came in the room,
Yeah. Well, welcome to the club. I've been that little short guy for a long time. Used to jump up on doors and hang when I was a little kid, hoping that my feet would make me stretch more. But I never got past 5'8.5" or maybe 5'9" in the morning.
You should see me in the grocery stores. I'm the guy climbing up on the shelves trying to get that top shelf. I don't want any help now.
Oh, you must be that guy I thought was kneeling in church, and you were actually standing. I thought you were praying to the others.
Yeah.
Our character has to be way beyond our physicality, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. So, Bishop, let's talk about moving forward in life. But before we get into the moving forward part, for some of us that are listening and we have to start again or start over in relationships as a result of divorce or just separation, and with family and new careers because of job changes and job loss, when we are trying to, I guess, feel out this unfoldment and it's new territory and new waters for us, and we don't know how to make that next step, how do we begin again? What helped you to let go and make that next step to start over, so to speak?
Well, it's reassessing. It's asking questions, answering questions, and then questioning your answers. We all are on a quest or inquest or conquest or request, a question. Life itself is one big question mark or one big quest for self-actualization, and we do that inadvertently. When you come to certain intersections, like a loss of a job or of a loved one or of a marriage or of a home or of a ministry or a position, you reassess at that intersection where you are, why you are, how you got there, and where you're going next. And so when these things come, that's not a time to be alarmed. It's a time to be alerted that you do have a reason for being and that your life is in motion all the time. Commotion, emotion, devotion. We're always doing something, but we try to be more consciously aware of what we're doing. I love the book that Wayne Dyer wrote titled The Power of Intention, learning to co-create your world your way. Yeah. I'm really learning to recreate as well as co-create, and then spiritually procreate my world my way. And I had to learn that the second half of my life, because the first part of my life, I was creating a world for others, trying to gain their affirmation and maybe even their recognition, because I love people, and you love your parents and you want to please them, and you love your grandparents, your mama and them, your grandmama and them, your godmama and them, that kind of thing. You're always trying to please the principal or the preacher or so you do that, and then you, at the end of it, you feel a little more hollow than you thought you would. So you say, wait a minute, now, let me see what the motive is here. I've impersonated who I think people want me to be. I'm an excellent imposter, and that's not a fake thing, but it's just I'm trying to please those other people. Now, what about me? Why am I still feeling empty, hollow, unfulfilled? And so then that's when you start saying, okay, I'm at this intersection. Let me pay attention to the signals. Red is no, green is go, yellow is slow. So should I go, should I know, or should I slow? And If you're like me, you don't like the yellow light kind of means proceed with caution, slow down.
Yeah.
And people like me who are type A characters love the green light. We don't like no, we never like no, and we're not too crazy about slow, so we're just zooming along. And that's when sometimes you have accidents or crashes and you have to then reassess. So anyway, it's a conscious effort to reevaluate and reassess not only that, but who you are and who you are becoming. I love the way Jung says, I'm not what happened to me, I'm what I choose to become.
Yeah.
And whatever, when you go through those intersections, there's a stoplight there sometimes, and it's a red light, and you just literally stop, ponder, meditate, reassess, regroup, refigure or reconfigure, and then move forward. The aim of evolution, I read somewhere, is to produce a human who at the point of objective thought may completely manifest the whole idea of life. I'm constantly evolving, but that aim is to produce the best me, the God me, the good me, the God me, the most maximized person, the most precise, exact, and accurate Carlton Pearson I can be. The word accurate really comes from add, cure, or add care rate. To cure and care for who you are, your rite of being, your rite of passage, accurate. So I want to be at almost 60 years old as accurately me as I could precisely be. And I didn't even, I never thought about that. I was trying to be accurately who maybe you, when I say you, I mean others, people who wanted me to be. And now I'm changing. So I'm reassessing my motives and motifs in life. And it's a beautiful time for me. Beautiful and dutiful.
Bishop, where does the strength and vitality to make these changes come from? Because the reason why I'm asking that is because I want to couple it with burnout. You mentioned before in your story how you were at the apex of that part of your ministry career and your life, and you experienced burnout. How do we deal with burnout? Because a lot of times these shifts and changes they come as a result of burnout, and there have been some that say, well, when you reach a certain point in your life at 50, change careers and that'll prevent burnout. What's your take on burnout?
Well, burnout beats burn up. People are very negative on burnout. Something that burns out can be reignited. When you burn up, you can forget it. So don't be discouraged if you're going through burnout, because I've been through it many times. You just let the fire may be gone, but the pilot light is still going. So you can reignite, and the reignitions of life come, as I said, at various intersections. It's nothing negative. It means that you're about to move to the next level. I love that passage of Scripture where Jesus says, "In my Father's house," meaning the things of divinity, the ultimate reaches and rhythms and regions of consciousness. There are many mansions. That word mansions, figuratively and metaphysically, means compartments or apartments or levels or floors, phases and spaces and paces in life. There's different compartments and apartments. In my Father's house, there are different levels of consciousness. And so you can move from one floor to the next. Sometimes you go back downstairs or even into the basement, but it's still the same house. Depends on how many levels your household is. Well, in the things of the divine and divine mind, there are many rooms. And so, but it's all in the same house. Just because you're in the basement today, that doesn't mean that's where you're going to be tomorrow. And just because you're on the top floor, what you consider a top floor tomorrow, that doesn't mean you'll be there infinitely. So you move up and down because all the floors are important. So there's no room for deadly negative emotion in there or alarm. Just realize what floor you're on and why it's there. If you're in the basement, sometimes that means relax. There's not a lot of sunlight down there. That means that may be your favorite room, that your man cave or woman cave. Sometimes people have their pool table down there or their ping pong table or their games. Some people take their computer and their laptop down there. But there's a purpose for the basement, as well as there's purpose for the living area or the great room or the den or the bedroom or the bathroom or the kitchen. All those rooms have their place. You just have to know what time it is and not fret over any particular floor you're on just because you're not sure why you're there. So when I get to these various paces or places, I stop and investigate, excavate, and interrogate my own soul. Why are you here today? Especially if you're uncomfortable with being there. And even when you're in the high levels of awareness and you're flowing maybe in your profession or in your business or in your ministry, you still have to reassess why you're there. It's not just for the fun of it. There's a purpose beyond that. These great movie stars and entertainers are people like Oprah Winfrey who amass not only great funds, but great influence. She has affluence, but more importantly, she has influence. There's a lot of people with affluence that don't have influence. But Oprah realized that she not only had affluence, she had great influence. And she kept saying, how did this little sexually abused girl born out of poverty in Mississippi arrive on this floor? What am I doing here? Why am I here? And so that's when she started reaching out and reassessing her purpose for being and going through various aspects of therapy and self-investigation, interrogation, excavation. And she started uncovering and recovering herself in very powerful ways, and it has touched the entire planet. See, I've been watching the 60th anniversary of the Queen of England, and she's the longest living monarch other than Queen Victoria in European history or monarchical history. No one has sat on the throne that long. But she did it purposefully. She wasn't supposed to be on the throne in the first place. Her uncle was. And when he abdicated, and then her father had to take the job, and then he passed unexpectedly, she's 25 years old. Suddenly, she owns more property than any one human being on the planet, and still does. And she so graciously, with great dignity and a sense of grounded purposefulness, understood her place, and now the whole world, not just Great Britain, is celebrating her 60 years in installment, as the Africans would say, or installment, or as the throne, the cathedral, and the cathedra. She's the head of the Anglican Church. So I watched that with great fascination, and her family and the whole country and, of course, the whole world, watching her live out, walk out her purpose, and do her destiny publicly. So when I got to the place where I had to come to that intersection, I just first paid attention, more close attention to the signs. And there was several red lights. And that's not always negative. Again, that's just stop, ponder, behold, reassess, take inventory, start asking the questions, answering them, and then questioning the answers. And then when the green light comes, start going again. But I'm not on the highway. At this stage in my life, I'm not on the highway. I'm still driving in town. So there's a lot of stoplights and intersections, and I can't just go flying down the highway. And whoever you are, wherever you are in life, you got to realize whether you're in the rural area, the urban area, or on the highways. And they change. Traffic change, speed limits are different. You have to pay more careful attention to what the environment, who else is on the road with you or on the highway with you, and what lane you're in, and where the cutoffs and off-ramps and on-ramps and merging traffic and all that kind of thing. That's just life.
Right. And how do we deal with those dark areas? Like through that process of reassessment and recognizing the changes in the past and the signs and signals that are coming to us, how do we deal with those dark moments that seem to arise? Because sometimes, and I might be getting ahead of myself and jumping into one of my questions, but sometimes, we experience outward circumstances and there's a reflection of what's going on inside anyway. How do we deal with those dark areas so that we can go through that process of reassessment?
There's really two times of day of the 24-hour period, night and day. In the daytime, you have the sunlight. You can see a lot more clearly with greater specificity. You can give and pay more attention to details because you're in the sunlight. At night, there is light, but it's night light. It's the moon. And sometimes of an overcast, even that light is dimmed considerably. You're not supposed to see as clearly at night or in the dark times. So don't expect to, and don't be alarmed when you clearly do not see, or you do not see with specificity. You cannot identify the details. There is a night light. Don't expect to have such clear vision. You can feel the vision, but you can't see it. So at night, contemplate more on what you feel and what you think about what you feel than what you see. Now watch this. Light travels 186,000 miles per second. A light year is the distance that light can travel in 1 year at that speed. I don't know, something like 17 trillion miles. Sound, on the other hand, travels only 1,100 feet per second. So you can see visually a lot farther than you can hear. You can only hear 1,100 feet. So faith doesn't come by seeing. Scripture says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the logos, the logic, the logistics of the divine, the Word of God. Not the scriptures, the writings, but the wordings in your spirit, the voice. And this is when a person has to be very meditative, very contemplative, very pensive, and very prayerful. That's not a sad thing. That's just a time of waiting. When it's not clear, you don't see. So you have to go by feelings. A blind person goes by feeling. But the universe doesn't judge you just by what you feel, but by what you think about what you feel. You feel it and say, this is cold. Now, what does that mean? Is this ice, or is this something that's been sitting out in the open space? It's something I just got out of the refrigerator. Or it's hot, it's warm, it's fuzzy, it's brazen, or gravelly, whatever. You go by feelings. And these are all different compartments of the 12 floors of the human being. And like the 12 powers in Fillmorian thought. So you access everything that you are, because everything that you need, you are. Right. Everything that you want, wants you.
Right.
So it's all self-contained. And so I heard Ianla say one time the other day, feelings buried alive don't die. And I add, they grow, they evolve. Sometimes they elope with other feelings and are attracted to other feelings. Later, they officially marry those feelings. So we need to deal more directly with feelings, what we think about them, and how to respond to them in the most conscious, raising ways. Because what you tolerate, you'll never change. So we start saying, why am I feeling this? Not really why am I feeling this, and it's usually pain, but where did the pain come from? Because most of our pain is historical, it's out of our past. But so are sounds. The Greek word for hear is akuyo, where we get the English word acoustics. Faith comes by acoustical reverberations or resonations, resoundings, repetitions in your spirit. Something that just keeps repeating itself, resounding, resonating deep within you is the birthing of your faith. Faith cometh by acoustical reverberations in the soul. And you hear sounds. That Greek word is eikos, where we get the English word echo. An echo is a sound out of the past. It takes you back to your pre-incarnative consciousness. Incarnated consciousness. Before we had flesh or form, when we were skinless and endless, and then some would say sinless, when we were just spirit. Right. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. So you go back and you say, okay, what did I agree to originally, an original purpose, an original idea that sponsored and spawned my existence on the planet? What did I agree to? Because I'm living under some kind of a covenant that is directing and designing and sometimes refining my life. So you stop, you take long self-investigative reflections, and you don't get so contorted and distorted. What happens, Jesse, is when we come to those intersections, we're trying to find and feel our way through, we panic only because we're experiencing the amnesia that we forgot we agreed to come here and that we came here loaded, really, and equipped with everything we need to experience our divinity, express our divinity, and expose it to others, reminding them of theirs, taking away their panic. Everybody lives in peace.
On that note, we have to take a commercial break. Our guest today is Bishop Carlton Pearson, selling author of God is Not a Christian or Jew, Muslim, or Hindu. God dwells with us, in us, and around us as us. I'm Jesse Harriet. When we return, we'll continue the conversation with Bishop Pearson. Stay tuned.
If you've been inspired by the programming on Unity Online Radio, we hope you'll give your support so others may be inspired too. This online radio network depends on the love offerings of listeners to continue operating and expand its outreach. Please visit www.unity.fm and click on Donate Now. Thank you.
He's the most talked about figure in history. How do you see Jesus? As a savior, a way-shower, a mythical hero? In his cutting-edge new book, Jesus 2.1, An Upgrade for the 21st Century, Reverend Dr. Thomas Shepard explores the many human concepts of Jesus.
The man of Nazareth has been an imaginary spiritual playmate for millions. Best friend, confidant, silent lover, surrogate father, brother, husband, trusted king when earthly governments fail, all-purpose superhero who will save the day before the final credits roll. Jesus is like a program that has been adapted through the ages while the basic code remains undisturbed despite all subsequent modifications. Now it is our time to rewrite and reinstall the Jesus program with updates for today, just as every previous generation has done and every subsequent generation will do. The Romans killed Jesus for being a revolutionary. Every succeeding generation kills him anew by losing sight of the ongoing revolution in human consciousness that he represents.
Explore the new book, Jesus 2.1, at www.shopunity.org.
Online Radio is turning 5 this year, and we're throwing the biggest bash of all, a cruise to the Caribbean, November 10 through 17, 2012. We'll celebrate in style aboard Holland America Line's Eurodam with sunshine, fine dining, and a selection of island excursions at beautiful ports of call in the Eastern Caribbean. Plus, feed your spirit with music, message, and meditation. Your favorite hosts will be there, and we hope you will join us too as we celebrate 5 years of spiritual programming at Unity Online Radio. For more information, visit www.unity.fm/cruise.
You've been listening to Living on Purpose with Jesse Harriet. If you have a question or comment about today's broadcast, or if you'd like to join in the discussion, friend us on Facebook at Jesse Harriet or email us at livingonpurpose@unity.fm. Now, more Living on Purpose.
And we're back talking with Bishop Carlton Pearson, best-selling author and international spiritual leader. Pick up where we left off during the first half. I wanted to jump right into dealing with the bumps and curves in life that many of us experience, and some of us call it setbacks and delays. And Bishop, I'm from South Carolina, and some of these roads that we travel on our journey in Sumter weren't paved ones. So how do we deal with harsh roads and setbacks on our journey as we're discovering our purpose?
Well, one of my favorite statements, and I don't even know where I found it years ago, it says, life is but a series of footnotes to a vast, obscure, and unfinished masterpiece. Mm-hmm. Life itself. And the tragedy is not that some people die, but that far too many never really live. They survive, but they never arrive, they never really thrive. So why is the question? All of us are familiar with the experience of waking up to the fact that our lives are no longer working the way we set them up. Sometimes, this is due to a shift occurring inside of us over time. Sometimes it's a part of a larger shift that is currently affecting all of humanity, and I think it's both at this time. People are personally and publicly, we're individually and collectively shifting in consciousness globally. There's a global shift in religious sensibilities and spirituality. Mm-hmm. important point, we don't find destiny. Destiny finds us and waits. Yeah. It waits on us and for us in this time continuum we call life. But destiny in time is ageless, but not stageless. We live life incrementally. We live it in stages, in phases, in paces, in places. So, the old song we used to sing, every round goes higher and higher. We're climbing Jacob's ladder. So there's many phases in this. When if a person life is always even and there's not the ups and downs, that means you flatlined. You did.
Yeah.
As long as there's the up and downs, that means you're still alive. So the bumps and jumps in the road just simply means you are alive and alert. Never be alarmed. You don't need to. So we talk about what possibilities are there for us to intentionally, deliberately reinvent or readvent ourselves, our lives, in these bumps. First of all, don't react in fear. Always respond in faith. Fear is a reaction. Faith is an action. We act in faith, never react in fear. Because everybody goes through bumps and potholes, chug holes. So what's working for you and what's working on you? And what are you working toward? Keep that in focus. It's not just what you're working on, but what's working on you. It's not just what you're eating, what's eating you. What is gaining your attention? Because attention and intention, are first and second cousins.
Oh, yeah.
What you give attention to becomes your focus, and what you make the issue, you make the idol. Both intention and attention are evolving human and spiritual disciplines. They are emotions and devotions that evolve. So where there's tension, there is attention. But where there is attention, there is generally intention. And what is the intention? What are you intending to accomplish in life is the question we have to ask ourselves. The dictionary defines intention as a strong purpose or aim accompanied by determination to produce a desired result. Well, what is that desired result? First, in general, it has to be simply to progress and process destiny, to proceed and succeed towards self-actualization. What I mean by that is to be actually, factually, functionally, punctually you, creating your own, I like to say, Y-O-U-niverse, your universe, owning, honoring your truth in it. Not just as you're called, but as you're coded or codified. You're systematized, you're alphabetized, the alpha and the beta, the first, not and last, but the first and second step in life. Beginning steps, personal ultimates. So we are. You have to tell yourself, first I'm called, but not only am I called to do destiny, I'm coded. It's actually in my DNA. There's an inner GPS. So don't be alarmed. Turn it on. Push the button. Make yourself like a heat-seeking missile. You can find the goal, but you've got to pause, do a lot of deep reflecting on yourself, on your soul, on your spirit. And the inner guide will take you through. If you panic, and that word panic comes from the Greek god of fear, Pan. When you panic and you're self-terrorized, psychologists say 80% of the things we worry about, Jesse, never really occur.
That's true.
The question then is, well, what am I do with the 20% that do occur?
Because it's big enough.
Because that's enough. A little 10% of them is enough to get me alarmed. But I think, wait a minute. Everything happens for a reason. There's no such things as mistakes. There's just misinterpretations of certain realities. Right. All things work together or work in concert. The garlic, the onion, the celery, the bell pepper, all part of the seasonings for the substance of the stew. We're really not a melting pot. We're a stew. Everything has its place, its space, and its pace of evolution and dissolution, dissolving itself into the mass, a flavoring of what we're eating in life. I'm talking to myself as well as to you and your listeners that we are all evolving and dissolving into the wider spectrum, and we have to take our time and respect the process, embrace the process, and learn to love it.
Right. That is so true. And that set me up from my next question, because I want to ask you, what do you consider as progress in your own life and your own personal journey of unfoldment? Because I want to know, how do we chart our progress based on where we are, all of us collectively, in opposed to where we think we should be or where others think we should be or have?
Well, mine is based on inner peace, not just public applause, but am I comfortable with me after I've done all my work and all my performance and showed up for the people? When I lay my head on my pillow at night, how do I experience me? How do I express me? And, life starts and stops with not how others experience you, but how you experience you and how you interpret you. That's how I base what I consider success in life. Am I happy being me? Am I enjoying myself? Not did other people enjoy me. That's part of it, and I'm happy for it. And that's also important to me, but it's not most important anymore, because I've walked off platforms many times, Jesse, before thousands and thousands of people when they were totally thrilled and happy with what I presented to them. But I wasn't happy with me. There are a lot of public successes who are private failures.
Yeah, I heard you say that at Hillside last time. Yeah.
We put our public image ahead of our private realities. And so that's why I made the statement, feelings buried alive don't die. So what do you do with how you feel about you? Okay, if you say I don't like me, then why? Why don't you like you? I like to ask those questions. What's working for you? What's not working for you? And why? If something is working for you, why is it working for you and how? Only you can answer that question. And then when something's not working for you, why is it not working? That's what we say, well, I don't know why it's not working, because I did this and I did that and I read that and I applied that and I prayed and I meditated and I put this one, but it still ain't working. So then you say, okay, well then, what's working on me? Not why isn't something working, but what's working on you that's obstructing or obscuring how you perceive yourself. Perception is the ultimate reality, but not necessarily the ultimate truth. So how am I interpreting this situation or misinterpreting it?
It's true. Carl Jung talks about the shadow, and he says, if you think of this, he says that although our shadow is very important, because it's so dark and gloomy, it comes from the unconscious, and we experience it when we dream, but that we experience it, we shouldn't hide it. We may hide it from other people, but we shouldn't definitely hide it from ourselves, And
yes.
You said, make me really, really think about truth, being truthful.
Well, shadows can't exist without the presence of light. In fact, they only exist in the presence of light and something that is standing in the way of light and casting or causing the shadow. So whenever I see a shadow, I don't get spooked by it anymore. I just look around and find what light is shining on me, causing the shadow to be there. The shadow, remember, is not real. It's a phantom. Even the scripture that says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow or the shades of death. Death is one of the colors of life. It's not a negative term. We do go through death processes. It's the constant evolution. When you look on your hand and you see what we call ash or the dead cells because we have several trillion cells, and we lose at least 500 million every day. And that's dead skin on the heels or on the fingers, in between the fingers, the scalp, and skin. We usually put lotion, on our skin to hide the dying process so it doesn't look right. But we don't really need lotion because sometimes that clogs the pores. We really need an exfoliant.
Yeah.
Something that helps scrape the dead skin off so the beautiful new skin every 29 days, you basically have a whole new outer covering of skin. Because you're constantly evolving. So when I say embrace the process, if you embrace it, Miss Kuhlman used to say, years ago, it's all so simple, Carlton, if you just love God enough. When you love it, it can't hurt you. When you love it, it can't harm your life. You love life. Most people are suspicious of life, and they don't trust themselves. They're afraid of their next reaction or how they're going to react. Most people, it's interesting, it's really risky to say this, Jesse. Most people every day are on the verge of either suicide or homicide.
Yes.
You go kill somebody and kill yourself. Most people won't admit that, but it's like, dang, I'm going to kill somebody in a minute. But when you live in between of those two extremes, you don't take a life, you give life. And gain, not get, but gain life. But it's constantly manipulating, if you will, or managing the pain and the pathos of existing on planet Earth.
And what is our responsibility to those that we love who have to deal with us as we transition while we're in between suicide and homicide? They may not share the same revelation that's promising us to change, Bishop. How did your family deal with the change, and how do you minister to other families who have loved ones that are going through the changes?
Well, first of all, love is a very obscure term. It's a powerful, passionate, prophetic, and if you will, pathetic term. It's one of the most selfish words in the English dialect and dialogue. When you say you love somebody, you're saying, as you've heard me say before, you love the part of yourself that you experience when you're with them or when you do something for them or something. Love, like I said, I love my family. I want to take care of my family. Well, what you really want to do is avoid the pain of not taking care of them. Of saying, my kid's got to go to college. Why is this so important? And my son's 6 and go, well, because I love him. Well, no, because you love you, and you want to feel good about you, and you won't feel good about you if you don't help him go to school or send your mother $100. I mean, every time I see my dad, I push a $50 bill or a $100 bill or a $20 bill in his hand, and I hug him and I kiss him, and he's grateful. But I also feel better about me when I've done that. So that's kind of selfish to do that, and it's not self-centeredness, but it is selfishness. To be selfless and to be selfish run close seconds to each other. So when you think about the people you love, if you just take care of you, and that seems a selfish term, and I mean for it to at this moment, you'll take care of them. Because if you don't love you, you're not going to love anybody else. Because part of loving you is caring for others, because in caring for others, you're taking care of yourself. So when you do something, even when I ride past a beggar on the street, a panhandler, I feel badly about myself if I don't. I've actually, and I'm sorting through all this, I've actually turned my car around and gone back and given the person more money.
Yeah.
Or made sure if I just tossed the money in the bag or put the person in the hand and didn't make eye contact, then I disrespected that person's humanness. And that is blasphemous to creation. So I've actually turned back around and I pushed the money in his or her hand, but I always make sure I identify, recognize, and reverence their dignity as a human being by making eye contact, which is a bonding of heart. Yeah. That's, in many ways, Jesse, more important than the dollar bill or $10 bill or $5 that you put in their hand. or 10 cents for that matter. You know, when you just grab some change, sometimes we keep a little change in the car because you always find panhandlers. So you grab the change just because you don't want to be embarrassed, or they see you sitting there in your nice car and you got your shades on and you're talking and you listen to music and they're sitting there looking terrible, and you start feeling, you don't really feel sorry for themselves. You feel for them as much as you feel bad about you.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So you put the window down and say, dang, here, get out of my face. Wrong attitude, and I don't think the universe honors that in a positive way. But when you take a moment, run your hand in your pocket, and sometimes the first bill that comes out, it may be a 20, and you maybe that's what the universe really wants you to give that person, but you'll dig around and try to find a $1 bill or find a quarter when we're supposed to give that 20 or that 10 or whatever popped up there. It might be a $100 bill. I've actually taken a $100 bill, and because it was the first thing that showed up. So now I make sure I put it in a separate bank so I don't accidentally stumble across it.
On that note, folks, we got to take a commercial break.
Okay.
That's great. I know exactly what you mean. Our guest today is
God help us all.
The help of Lord. Best-selling author of God Is Not a Christian, Jew, Muslim, or Hindu. God dwells with us and us around us as us. I'm Jesse Harriet. Today when we return, we'll continue the conversation. Stay tuned.
Chris Michaels, host of The Prosperous Life on Unity Online Radio, is an author, life coach, national speaker, and the founder and spiritual director of the Center for Spiritual Living in Kansas City, Missouri. Through his writing, coaching, and speaking, Chris has helped thousands of people understand the basic spiritual principles that govern our lives. In his book, Your Soul's Assignment, he reminds us that we each have something to do here on earth, a unique purpose to our lives. If you're interested in discerning what is yours to do, are looking for practical spiritual principles to inspire your life, or coaching to provide you with the tools to live more fully, visit Chris's website at www.chrismichaels.net. That's www.chrismichaels.net.
What is the key to happiness? Would you like to find the fountain of youth? How about all the money and love that you could handle? Well, my friends, it is there for you. You just need to strip off the false beliefs that keep your divine inheritance from being attracted into your life. You need to be real. Be vulnerable. Be naked. What are you waiting for? Let's get naked. This transformational program with Reverend Heidi Alfrey is an invitation to explore and remove the blocks that keep you from emotional freedom. Listen to Heidi and her revealing guests as they embrace the power of spiritual nakedness as a guaranteed way to live an authentic and transparent life. Expose yourself to your greatness on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central Time. Let's get naked. No dress code required. Only on Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
You gotta get rid of your butt. It's bigger than it would appear. It hinders your forward movement when you keep bringing up the rear.
You've been listening to Living on Purpose, where psychology meets spirituality. Now, here is your host, Jesse Harriet.
And we're back. Thanks so much for tuning in, Living on Purpose. We're talking with Bishop Carlton and having an incredible dialogue. And if you missed the first half of the show, second half of the show, please go back and download the show. The archives will be available after 6 p.m. Just go to www.unity.fm and click on Program Archives and Living on Purpose, and click on MP3, and it's compatible with any of your handheld devices. Now, Bishop, we were talking off air. I want to jump right into that conversation because this is incredible and it'll help the listeners. How do we live a guiltless life, and how do we get underneath the shadow of self-guilt?
Well, the culture that particularly religious cultures itself, is very demanding. You come here with a sense that you owe everybody, beginning with your parents, and you start feeling a sense of what I call self-incrimination or criminality, criminalizing and criticizing who you are, protesting, contesting, resisting, and resenting your existence on the planet because you can't live up to everybody's expectations, including your own. And because most of our expectations, and the word comes from spectating or viewing, seeing, perceiving, interpreting yourself as less than, and putting your expectations are based on other people's assessments or appraisals or expectations. In other words, how they view you. What I was saying earlier is it's not how they view you, it's how you view you. We spend, I would say, the biggest portion of our day trying to avoid the guilt sense or the sense of lack. And every single day, Jesse, there are things you have to do. There are things you need to do. There are things you're supposed to do. There are things you want to do. And there are things you get to do. I call those the 5 fingers of the day. Have to do, need to do, supposed to do, want to do, and get to do. What order do we put those? How do we prioritize? I have to do this. And then at the end of the day, I forgot to do that. I'm intended to do that. I meant to do that. And so you go to bed, go to sleep, beating yourself up. Then you wake up in the morning in a rush. I need to do this. I got to be right. But let's the priorities. Think that everybody has their to-do list, you know, and and then in between the lines, there's a not to-do list. Subconsciously, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be tired. I'm not going to rest around. I'm not going to be, So you have this almost like this cosmic conflict going on in your head every day, and that's why some people are so exhausted that they can't sleep.
Yes.
So they take medication to deaden their senses so they can stop thinking, because as long as they're alert, they're alarmed. So they want to go to sleep. So I'm identifying the issue so we know how to address it. Once you realize it's there, like when you see that serpent or that scorpion, you know how to tread around it. You don't have to be afraid of it. You just need to be aware of it. And when you're aware of it, you respect that it exists and avoid it. Consciously avoid the deadly negative emotions of guilt, self-incrimination. Because we are harder on ourselves than anybody we know. Because sometimes there's literally nobody in the room. Your wife's not there, your children are not there, your partner's not there, your boss is not, but you still don't like you. So it's not their criticisms, it's how you interpret how they interpret you, which affects how you interpret you. So when I make these statements, my objective is to put the power back in your hand, or to remind you to take your power back. That's how you co-create and recreate your world your way. And you do it not just on purpose, you do it with purpose.
Yes.
That's deliberate and intentional mastering the mystery of yourself.
Yes, and that is a beautiful way to close. We have about 50 seconds left in the half. Bishop, how can we reach you and follow your work that you might see emerging, but it's already been here, but it's just unfolding even more at a greater pace? How can we reach you real quick before we end?
BishopPearson.com is my site. CDP, that's Carlton Demetrius, CDP at BishopPearson.com, any email. I'm at Hillside on Father's Day there in Atlanta, and the second Sunday, July, August, and September of every month. The second Sunday I'm at Hillside at 8 o'clock and 10:30 every second Sunday. But this month, June, I'll be there on Father's Day, the 17th. I would love to see all of you. I'm going to bring my book, Is There a Man in the House?, something I wrote some years ago, and present it and make available to people. But you can find my schedule, or you can communicate with me, Facebook, as well. But I'm not on Facebook every day. But CDP at BishopPearson.com. I'd love to hear from anybody.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bishop. Thank you so much, Bishop.
All right, Jesse. I hope to see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, definitely. And you can follow Bishop online, as he said, at his website, BishopPearson.com. Thanks so much for tuning in this week, folks, to Living on Purpose at Unity.FM Radio, the voice for an awakening world. Thanks again for joining us, and this has been Jesse Harriet, encouraging you to live on purpose. Have a good week.
Thank you for tuning in to Living on Purpose, where psychology meets spirituality with Jesse Harriet. Listen in live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Time for more insights into psychology, ancient wisdom, and how it connects to your life today. Living on Purpose, only on Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world. This program is brought to you in part by www.jesseharriet.com, where psychology meets spirituality. Connect with us on Facebook and YouTube. Keyword search Jesse Harriet.
Does music open your heart and bring you peace and joy? Experience the sacredness of sound with Ramdesh Kaur as we travel the world of mantra, Kundalini Yoga, and devotional music. Join us for a journey into spirit, Thursdays at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern on Spirit Voyage Radio with Ramdesh. Only on Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Inspiration only takes a moment. Consider these inspirational thoughts from the Quest for Prayer from Unity House Books. Holding a special, loving thought for other people benefits us as much as it benefits them. In fact, in some ways, even more so. Consider, for example, what happens when you wash your car with a hose. What gets clean first? The inside of the hose, of course, because the water must rush through the hose before it can clean the car. So it is when we hold loving thoughts for someone. As those loving thoughts rush through us, they bless us first. It is a win-win situation.
This meditative moment is brought to you by Unity.
Somewhere, tucked away in the Unity Library archives in Unity Village, Missouri, you can find a secret treasure. They are the scripts from Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore's early days on broadcast radio. The teachings of Unity's founders, almost 100 years old. Now, for the first time in history, you can hear them through the power of the Internet. Join Bob Brock every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, for Unity Classic Radio, Words from Our Past. Discover the wisdom of Charles Fillmore's talks and of other Unity radio speakers read on the air again. Call in your comments and questions as Bob and his special guests revisit Unity radio talks of the past, along with historical background from the early days of the Unity movement. That's Unity Classic Radio, Words from Our Past, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Right here on Unity FM, the voice of an awakening world.